Hey, welcome into another Whoosh video here with me, Louie. Today I thought I would take a look at something Marvel and DC are infamous for in trying to get new readers into their stories, and that is creating new number ones when they start a brand new run, new creative teams, so on and so forth. And the other is creating alternate universes such as the Ultimate Universe and the brand new DC Absolute Universe. So let's take a look. Alright, so before we jump into that topic, remember, if you're enjoying the videos, to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments whether you're a fan of these reboots, the new number ones, the alternate universes, the new backstories for these characters. I'm interested in your take. I personally have some I'll share at the end about a big one that I was not a fan of. But let's take a look at the first thing, which is alternate universes. This year, Marvel relaunched their Ultimate Universe, which they combined with their main universe, also known as the 616 universe, in the 2015 event Secret Wars, where they had these incursions and eventually these two worlds collided. And really the only lasting thing to come out of that was Miles Morales, who was the Ultimate Spider-Man after Peter Parker passed away in the Ultimate Universe. Miles took up the mantle. He's popular. He was in the Spider-Man 2 video game. He's been in cartoons. He was actually even briefly mentioned in Spider-Man Homecoming when Donald Glover's character was webbed to the trunk of a car. So that was the big thing. The other big thing was that the Maker, which is the Ultimate Universe's Reed Richards, who is a villain, came over and was now a bad guy in the main universe. Other than that, there wasn't a lot of things that carried over from both, and it wasn't, to me, the worst to see the Ultimate Universe end. It had been going on for quite a while. With that said, they rebooted the Ultimate Universe using the Maker to travel to the alternate universe and kind of back in time to make sure there was no superheroes. They also ended up framing Howard and Tony Stark for an explosion, which in turn killed Peter Parker's Aunt May and not his Uncle Ben. Those are some of the big changes in that universe, along with the X-Men being written and drawn by Peach Momoko, and that team being based out of Japan. As far as I remember from reading it, I'm a few issues in. I haven't finished or completely caught up with that run yet. But they do quite a few things to kind of change things up and make the universe its own unique area, but also to give readers a chance to jump in without having to learn the 60 or 70, 80-ish years of comic history for said characters. So credit to them for that. I think that's one way to try to get new readers invested in the stories. I think it's a great way to allow someone to jump in without needing all of that backstory and that history. That said, Marvel is not the only company to do something like that this year. DC Comics is launching their All-In initiative, which I believe came to a head this past week. And on top of that, they are launching their Absolute Universe with an Absolute Batman, an Absolute Wonder Woman, and an Absolute Superman. And those will be like the Trinity. Obviously, they're the big popular ones that everything's based around anyway. The big thing for me is that they're changing the backstories of a lot of the characters, and just to kind of simplify it for everyone, Batman won't be rich, Wonder Woman won't be raised on Themyscira, and Superman won't have his family to kind of guide him and build his moral compass. I'm excited actually for the last one more than anything. I am not a huge fan of Superman. I feel like he's OP a lot of the time. It's hard to write a character that is OP. But this run is actually written by Jason Aaron, who, if you've watched my videos before, you would know my love for the previous thing he wrote, which was the Thor God of Thunder run, which introduced Gore, the God Butcher, had a cameo appearance by Null in it. Absolutely my favorite run of Thor of all time. so much so that I had the chance to meet him at DriftCon and had him sign the first cameo of Null and part of the origin of Gore. So when I had the chance to meet him, we talked about it, and he was like, oh, if you really like this Thor run, you'll actually end up really enjoying my Absolute Superman, and that drops in November. So I will be giving that a chance. You can look for feedback here on the channel for how that run is going. I'm absolutely stoked for that run and to give Superman another look through a different lens with a different backstory. So cannot express how excited I am for that. And I think it's a good idea, especially for those three characters who have a lot of history and a lot of things that have happened. Give them a fresh reboot, give them an entirely different universe, and let readers be able to jump into those characters. This isn't DC's first foray into alternate universes either. They've had Earth 2, they've had Crisis on Infinite Earths, similar to the Secret Wars event, which kind of mashed all of their alternate realities back together. So it's something comic companies have done multiple times, and I think it's only there to try to introduce and get new readers in, and I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to lure new readers in, but I will say I think there's a slight issue with their plan, and we'll also get to that a little bit later. The next thing comic companies tend to do, and I do believe they're going to be doing this a little bit on the DC side, I know for sure there's at least one book on the Marvel side that'll be getting this. They'll create a brand new numbering system for a brand new creative team. So we saw it with the new DC New 52. We saw it with All New Marvel Now. All New, All Different Marvel had new numbering systems. So they do this a lot where they'll generate new number ones because new number ones get people excited. People tend to think those hold a lot of value, and that kind of drives sales up a little bit. Well, they're doing that again this October, I believe, with Iron Man #1. That's getting a brand new #1 out, and this is probably the fourth, maybe fifth Iron Man #1. That doesn't include like Ironheart or Infamous Iron Man, which wasn't really Tony, it was Dr. Doom. So a lot of Iron Man #1s, a lot of ways of driving the interest in those books up and the sales of those books up, mostly from collectors, not really new customers though, I think. But we'll see. I think those are the two ways I usually end up seeing comic companies try to drive new sales and or not even new sales, but try to up sales by making new universes, create new #1s, or creating new #1s just for new creative teams and stuff like that. Now, just a little backstory on a couple of my issues with sometimes when they do the alternate universe, the alternate history, and that kind of things. Like, when you look at the all-new Marvel run that they did with Iron Man, they introduced a brother of Tony Stark, who's Arno Stark, who was on an iron lung, and his parents made a deal, and instead they kind of faked his death and adopted Tony. So Tony wasn't really Howard's son. It was a very convoluted backstory, and the run wasn't bad, but it also wasn't great. So sometimes you run into this where you're trying so hard to do something to differentiate a character that you just make things overly confusing, and you don't need to. So my hope is that they're not going to get to that level with either the Absolute or the new Ultimate Universe. So fingers crossed we don't have that kind of thing happen in those. The other issue I have is I've noticed a lot of the Ultimate Universe's issues now from Marvel are $4.99. Comics used to be $3.99 for a general normal issue, but $4.99 is a lot. I've noticed that some of the DC All-In or Absolute books are $4.99 for cardstock. Some of them are for the normal ones, but also some of their normal ones are still $3.99. And getting into comics can be cost prohibitive for people, especially when you're looking at needing to read at least 5 of them to get to it. You're looking at, that's a $25 investment for a story you don't know if you're going to like. You're going to spend $5 on a book you're not sure you're even going to like in the get-go. So it's hard. I think trades make it easier for people to get into comics because they have an entire story there to get through. They don't have that buy it 1 month wait a whole month, get the next issue, and kind of continue that. There's a attention span thing that's also an issue, but I think the main driving factor is the cost of collecting a comic. It's a lot, and as someone who has a subscription at Nick's Comic Strip, I think it's great because they offer a discount for having a subscription there. But as someone who's a casual person who would just go in to pick up a book, you don't have that option. You pay full price for the comic, and it's a lot to ask somebody to invest $5 into a story when they're not fully sure they're even going to like it. So I don't know. I think digital is a good way to go. Marvel offers a digital copy with, I would say, 98% of the books that they offer. So that's a really good way of doing it, where you can kind of get the physical, redeem the digital copy, bag and board it, and you can still collect it and kind of spec on the book. I don't know how that's going to work in the future. We might be headed into an age where you can buy the digital copy of the book for like $2, and then you end up paying like $10 as a premium if you'd like to get a physical copy of the book sent to you. I don't know. Maybe that's something. Because I do think digital reading really goes a long way, especially when you can have 1,000 comic books on your tablet, whether it's an iPad, Kindle, Android, your phone. Like, you can have thousands of comics at your fingertips on there to read whenever you want. It makes it hard for the physical books to sell. So there's that problem. But this got me thinking, and let me know in the comments again if you think maybe like the back issue bins and flea markets with the 25-cent comics or the 50-cent comics or the dollar comics are kind of where people need to focus when they're trying to get newer readers in, younger audiences, friends. Just buy them a run from those 50-cent, 25-cent, dollar, like the back issue bins where it's cheap. You can buy multiple issues. You can hand them to a kid. You can hand them to a friend and be like, here, just read these. 1, no one's going to care about the condition of them because they're not worth much. 2, they're probably already beat up anyway. And 3, they're great to flip through, and they don't cost you a ton. And that person could then be like, oh, cool, awesome, I really enjoyed these. Let me go spend like $3 and walk out with 12 books if it's a 25-cent bin. Like, that to me seems like a better option than spending $5 on a book you're not sure you're going to like. So, I don't know. I struggle to see how the comic industry continues to grow its audience with the increased cost in books. And I think you can only continue to milk your current audience for so long before it becomes exhausted with the variant covers and the upselling for annual issues to like $7 and so on and so forth, like the chrome covers. Like, all of those things are gimmicks to get your current audience to spend more, but you're only going to have them for so long. You have to continue to grow that audience, and I don't know if the comic industry is advancing in ways to better do that. I hope they are, and I hope maybe somebody beyond me is looking at that. But yeah, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments below on this whole topic. And yeah, we'll catch you here next time. Thanks.